Welcome to the Agronomy and Farm Management Podcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome to our annual Farm Science Review episode. We work hard all year long to bring you interesting learning opportunities. So we're going to share those with you today and hopefully entice you to join us 3 days that we're out there. We're going to focus on the agronomy and farm management topics, though there's really a wealth of information on a wide variety of topics: health and wellness, gardening. There's even some home design aspects out there offered by our colleagues at Ohio State. In case you haven't heard yet, this year's dates are September 19th through the 21st. So you can get your tickets at any of your extension offices. You can buy them online, or you can get them at the gate, though they are a little bit more expensive there. So we've got all 4 co-hosts here today. The first episode we are doing jointly. But before we get started on the programming, I want to know how long each of you have been involved or attending Farm Science Review. Bruce, what about you?
Yeah, so I think every year of my career, I've been down to Farm Science Review at least one day and have done either some help with educational programs, done some teaching, and, I'm all the way up in Defiance County, and I always run into somebody from my home county. So it's somewhat of a homecoming for some, or a reunion when you see familiar folks down there at Farm Science Review.
That is nice that people from all over the state can come. And another reason, we get educators from all over the state, because it's another opportunity to meet with farmers that we're serving. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, so this is actually going to be my second Farm Science Review here with OSU Extension. Last year, I started back in August, so I was only a month in when Farm Science Review came around. So I was there, but I also wasn't really present, I would say. I was kind of wandering around trying to help, but not really knowing where to go. But I really enjoy Farm Science Review. For our area, we do have a lot of people making the trip from Jackson. We send a bunch of our FFA students, so I really enjoy how the FFA students can get a day out of class and go up and just get to see the whole variety of Farm Science Review, whether it's agronomy, the farm management, or whatever they want to see. They like to go and see all the different displays and the tractors they have up there. But it's a really good event for the schools, as well as anybody that's just learning to see what's new in agriculture.
Elizabeth, you've probably been going since you were in diapers.
Yeah, probably. This will be my 8th Farm Science Review working for OSU Extension. But like so many farm kids in Ohio, going back years and years, it was always a fun opportunity where mom and dad wouldn't send us to school that day because you learn a lot more at the Farm Science Review, getting to play on equipment and listen to dad talk to all the vendors there throughout the day. Amanda, you probably have one of the tightest relationships with Farm Science Review over the years. How long have you been going?
I went in high school, but then I started working as a student worker there in college. So I think I've been to every one since I started working in 2005, first as a student employee and then as an extension employee. And being married to the farm manager, get an inside look at a lot of things and involved in a little bit more from that side of it. And now that I'm in Madison County, it's a lot easier to do some of the programming and things there too. And we'll partner together throughout the year to actually utilize the site more than just for the show that day, but doing education year round sometimes. So that's been fun. All right, well, let's talk about the programming. Bruce, you are taking lead on Ask the Expert this year, right?
It is, yeah. And so that whole Ask the Expert area is really designed to really engage the audience one-on-one or a small group setting, really conversationally with some of the best experts that we can pull together for hot topics in agriculture. Primarily the topics in the Ask the Expert area are in ag economics. We have veterinary medicine, agricultural law, and also agronomy. One of our sessions late on Thursday is going to be agronomy and economics make up that word called agronomics. And so we're going to talk about that equation. What comes first in that equation? Is it the agronomy side or the economic side? So we have experts like Laura Lindsay and Azar Ortez and Barry Ward going to have 2 agronomists and an economist kind of doing some I don't know if it's dueling pianos or dueling equations, but it's going to be a fun part of that program. And Josh, you might have looked across that Ask the Expert schedule, and you might have seen things on there like Aaron Wilson. And we're going to have Aaron Wilson talk about the weather every day, because the weather at Farm Science Review is important, but the weather is important every day for farmers and producers. So some of the other topics that we have that are highlights of the Ask the Expert area, there's going to be they're all 30-minute sessions. So the top and the bottom of the hour, we're going to rotate topics, everything from the grain markets to the weather, farm insurance, and really some topics that affect livestock, whether that's feed quality, health and wellness of our animals, but also talk about some of the human aspects of agriculture, everything from mental health, but also transitioning the business to the next generation. So I bet each one of those topics can find a place where it resonates with somebody that's attending Farm Science Review. And the greatest thing about Farm Science Review, Ask the Expert area, it's very close to the food area, and we have tables and chairs to sit down at and relax just for a moment and catch your breath, relax with some great Farm Science Review food. And it's going to be a great lineup of experts that our audience can engage with. And so that's part of the farm management schedule. And another area, Josh can probably speak to this, the small farm education program is a part of Farm Science Review as well.
Yeah, so when we're looking at the Small Farm Center at Farm Science Review, you can find the Small Farm Center at the corner of Equipment Avenue and Beef Street. So at the Small Farm Center, it's kind of very similar to Bruce's Ask the Expert, but you're actually going to be seeing a lot of different types of programs being there. I mean, where else could you see a program where you're going to be talking about raising meat rabbits, the introduction to mushrooms, ruminant education, chainsaw safety, all within the matter of 30 minutes. You're not going to be able to find that lineup anywhere else. So looking at it, it's going to start right at 10 a.m. and it's going to run till 2:30 from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And you can catch like all different types of it. Like I said, there's sunflower education, sunflower 101, preventing burnout. A lot of that's important. And actually, when I was looking through that Ask the Expert, I was seeing a bunch of different podcast episodes we could do with Bruce. So it seems like we're going to be doing a lot of mini podcasts up at Farm Science Review.
Yeah, I agree, Josh. And the location for Ask the Expert is at the corner of Friday Avenue and Cotman Street. And so that's booth 426. And it is right across the street from what we call the Fireball Building, which is really OSU Central Campus there at Farm Science Review. At the Fireball Building, we also have our farm office team that'll be there throughout the days of Farm Science Review to engage in casual conversations. And when people are looking for resources related to farm management, those are the places that Josh and I have highlighted that really people can find what they're looking for at Farm Science Review.
And one thing about Ask the Expert that I really enjoyed last year was, it's a kind of a shameless plug, was right next to Smith's. And I got a nice cream puff and I got to walk over there and listen to a good presentation and enjoy a good cream puff that we don't really have here in Southeastern Ohio.
I also enjoy the food from Schmidt's. I'll probably have a Bahama Mama for breakfast at least one day that we're there. I think once you're done eating your lunch and listening to those Ask the Expert talks, you may feel like taking a walk. And the best place to do that is heading out to the field demonstrations. So starting at 12:30 each day, you can catch the Ag Innovations demonstrations. These are one of my personal favorites. It's going to highlight some of the emerging technologies that you may be hearing about but haven't had a chance to see. So you can come out and see some drone demonstrations, including drone spraying and drone scouting. And then we've been hearing a lot about autonomous equipment. So if you want to see a tractor that drives itself and completes field operations, that's going to be the place to go. We'll have both an autonomous tractor running demonstrations as well as autonomous irrigation, where we'll be demonstrating the 360 Yield Center rain unit that we've been doing research with out there at Farm Science Review. So to get there, you're going to catch the shuttle at the west end of Friday Avenue, and those will run for about an hour each day. And then concurrently with those 12:30 sessions, there are other field demonstrations you can check out, including tillage, planters, and nutrient application. And then the ones that everyone's most excited about at Farm Science Review are harvest and seeing those first crops in the state come off and hearing those numbers. So corn harvest is going to start each day at 1:30. And then at 2 o'clock, soybean harvest is going to run. There'll also be corn stalk shredding, baling, and wrapping demonstrations going on at 2 o'clock as well. If you're worried about drainage despite the somewhat dry weather this summer, there's also going to be field drainage installation demonstrations that are going on all day. So again, you're going to want to go down to the west end of Friday, and there's a shuttle that'll take you on out there to check out the equipment in action.
Yeah, I always like visiting OLICA at least once during the show. It's really cool to see how fast they can work, especially when all the members of OLICA converge with their tile plows and equipment, and they can knock out some things pretty quickly. So great place to talk to those folks if you're interested. So then clear at the other end of the Farm Science Review grounds is the agronomic crops plots. And we are at the east end. So when you're coming in from the parking lot, I know you're in a hurry to see everything, but slow down and stop by and see us, or leave a little bit of energy at the end of the day as you're exiting to stop by and see what we have going on. These plots have been around for several years now, so you're probably used to seeing them if you've been attending Farm Science Review regularly. And our goal is to really demonstrate what on-farm research we're doing around the state here at Farm Science Review, so you can see it. We've got plots with corn, soybeans. We've got a lot of forages that are coming up now, and we do some things with cover crops as well. So there's a wide variety, whether we're looking at pests, diseases, insects. We also have some trials called our max yield trials, which include irrigation and really pumping in the inputs to see how far we can take corn and soybeans and what difference irrigation makes in those plots. And those are actually plots that we do take yield off of. Biostimulants are always of interest, so we've got a few of those. You can see if you can see any difference between them. And then Battle for the Belt. Hopefully you've been hearing a lot about this throughout the year if you've been subscribing to the corn newsletter or YouTube videos. Laura Lindsay and Oslo Ortez have been battling it out to see which crop can be planted earliest and have the highest respective yield. Well, we've got plots on that too, so you can see those in action with 3 different planting dates. We've brought back timed talks this year too. So at 9 and 3 on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then 9 and 2 on Thursday, we'll actually have some of our experts. Elizabeth, you're on there. Dr. John Fulton, I mentioned Osler and Laura with the Battle for the Belt. They'll be on also. So they're going to talk for about 30 minutes. We're calling those tailgate talks out in the plots. And then for about an hour after that is just question and answer time that these experts will be available to meet with you if you want to dive into something deeper, or maybe you missed their talk but really have a question for them. It's a nice way to know that when they're going to be at the plots, and you might plan your visit around that. So a lot going on. We didn't even get into half of it, and that's what makes it challenging, right? At Farm Science Review, there's so much to do, and the unique opportunity that we have as a university, since Farm Science Review is university owned. A lot of the farm shows, it might be a booth that the university gets there, but we're able to provide opportunities across the entire grounds.
Amanda, it's a great highlight of how many different roles that a farmer and a grower has to think about throughout the calendar year. It's just not a summer job for farmers and growers throughout Ohio and the Midwest. It's such a professional career. I certainly would put a tag on it like that, that there's so many aspects that are important to agricultural production.
Yeah. And hey, you get to see superstars like Bruce and Josh in person, right?
Like Amanda said, we've just barely scratched the surface on what's available. So if you want to learn more before you buy your ticket, you can check out in detail everything that's going on, what vendors are going to be there at the Farm Science Review website, which is fsr.osu.edu.
And Elizabeth, I'm looking at these vendors and I see 23 pages of vendors. That's a lot of vendors for people to visit. How are people going to have time to see all these educational events and see all the vendors too?
Well, you just might have to come all 3 days and bring your walking shoes.
It's true. It's a lot. And I noticed on Farm Science Review's website that they had posted an article about the new exhibitors that are joining the lineup too. So if you really want to hone in on some folks that may not have been accessible last year or in previous years as exhibitors, check that out too while you're looking up the program. Thank you all for helping us share the educational opportunities at Farm Science Review. And to you, all of you listening, we hope you do take time to join, and don't hesitate to reach out and visit with us if you catch us around during the show. Have a safe and fun visit to Farm Science Review.
Thanks for listening to the Agronomy and Farm Management Podcast. Join us again in 2 weeks for our next episode.
Hey, podcast listeners, just a reminder to give us a like or subscribe so you know when we release new episodes. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to leave us a review also. We appreciate the comments.